There's a decision sitting in front of you right now. Maybe it's a relationship, a job, a city, a version of yourself you keep almost becoming. You've thought about it for weeks, months maybe. And still, nothing moves. Not because you don't care, because some part of you is afraid that choosing one thing means killing every other thing it could have been. That's not laziness. That's not weakness. That's a very specific, very human kind of fear. And by the end of this, you'll understand exactly where it comes from and what to do with it. Picture every choice you make as a door closing behind you. Choose this job, the other path disappears. Choose this person, the other futures with someone else quietly dissolve. Most people think commitment is hard because they're scared of making the wrong choice, but that's not quite it. What you're actually afraid of is loss, the loss of every other life you could have lived instead. Psychologists call this opportunity cost aversion. Your brain doesn't just evaluate what you're gaining, it obsessively tracks what you're giving up. And here's the cruel part. The human mind weighs losses almost twice as heavily as it weighs equivalent gains. This is one of the central findings of prospect theory, developed by psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky. So when you commit to something good, your brain isn't celebrating the gain, it's mourning the loss of everything else. That's why commitment can feel like grief, even when you're choosing something you actually want. You're not broken for feeling that ache, you're just feeling the cost of being a creature with imagination. There's a tug-of-war happening inside your skull every time you face a real decision. On one side, the prefrontal cortex, the part of you that plans, weighs evidence, thinks long-term. On the other, the amygdala, older, faster, built for survival, not strategy. The amygdala doesn't care about your 5-year plan. It cares about one question: is this safe? And commitment, by definition, removes your exits. It removes your options. To a brain wired for survival, fewer options can register as fewer escape routes. So even a good commitment can trigger something close to a threat response. Your heart rate ticks up, your thoughts loop, you feel an urge to wait a little longer, to keep your options open. That's not indecision, that's your nervous system mistaking freedom for safety. This pattern isn't often random, it's learned. If you grew up in a home where outcomes felt unpredictable, where love, safety, or stability could shift without warning, your mind adapted. It learned a quiet rule: don't fully invest in anything, stay ready to leave. This is sometimes connected to what attachment theorists call an avoidant or anxious avoidant attachment style. Not a flaw in your character, but a strategy your younger self built to survive uncertainty. That strategy made sense once. It might not serve you anymore. But your brain doesn't update beliefs just because circumstances changed. It updates beliefs through repeated, felt experience, which means insight alone won't fix this. You have to give your nervous system new evidence. Here's the part most people miss. Commitment was never supposed to feel like certainty. It was always supposed to feel like a risk you decided was worth taking anyway. Psychologist Barry Schwartz, known for his research on choice, observed that more options don't make us more satisfied. They often make us more anxious, more regretful, more paralyzed. This is sometimes called the paradox of choice. You think more options will bring you peace. In reality, they often bring you noise. The antidote isn't finding the perfect choice. It's learning to tolerate the discomfort of closing doors on purpose. You don't need total certainty to commit. You need a way to work with your nervous system instead of against it. 1. Name the fear specifically. Not, I'm scared to commit, but I'm scared I'll lose the version of life where I chose differently. Naming it precisely activates the prefrontal cortex and quiets the amygdala's vague alarm. 2. Make the decision reversible in small ways. Total permanence triggers threat responses. Build small checkpoints, 3 months, 6 months, so your brain registers safety, not entrapment. 3. Practice tolerating discomfort, not solving it. Not every uneasy feeling is a sign you chose wrong. Sometimes it's just your brain adjusting to fewer open doors. Let the feeling exist without obeying it. 4. Choose based on values, not vividness. Your brain overweighs whatever option is most emotionally vivid in the moment. This is the availability heuristic at work. Ask instead, which choice aligns with who I want to become? 5. Track evidence over time. Every time you commit and the world doesn't collapse, you're rewriting an old survival rule. This is exposure-based learning, slow, repeated proof that safety doesn't require escape routes. Think of your life like a tree, not a hallway of doors. A hallway implies that choosing one path destroys the others. A tree grows differently. When a tree commits its energy into one trunk, one root system, it doesn't lose potential. It gains the strength to grow branches it never could have grown if its energy stayed scattered across 100 shallow roots. Depth requires narrowing. Growth requires commitment. Not because other paths weren't valid, but because no living thing grows by staying everywhere at once. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need certainty. You just need to understand that the unease you feel isn't proof you're choosing wrong. It's the sound of an old protective pattern doing the only job it knows how to do. You can thank it and still walk through the door anyway.